Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great show coming to you this week. We're going to be diving into the Philadelphia Phillies. We're also going to be getting into Jeffrey Lurie and the very, very large donation that he made for autism research. We're also going to be getting into the Philadelphia 76ers, the upcoming draft, what they may do with that number 3 overall pick. And then what we are throwing down on the table this week, we've got our good friend of the show. He's been coming on for many years, Charlie O'Connor from PHLY Sports. He's going to join us to break down this Flyers offseason at the moment and what the upcoming NHL draft may look like for this hockey club in the future. I am Jeff Warren, and I'm here with my good buddy, Eric Leonard. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah. It's weird. It's the first week of getting a glimpse at like empty nestum kind of.
With your daughter heading out for a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, my son's still here, but he's a 12-year-old boy. He plays video games. You don't even see him half the time. She's a senior week in Ocean City, Maryland. And it's just getting texts once a day. Hey, beach is fun. And it's just like, yeah. And here's the funny thing is too, because me and you and all our friends, we used to party a little bit, just a little bit,
a little bit here and there, a little bit.
I know, and she's down there going, yeah, we made some dinner last night. I made tacos, and then we hung out on the boardwalk, and then got up at 8 and ran, went to the beach. I'm just like, that's like going on vacation with your family.
Exactly. What are you doing? How hungover are you?
Not at all. Like,
oh my gosh,
what's the point of going to the beach? No,
I know. It's incredible. Dude, I'm not kidding. Times have changed. They really have. But it's interesting you mentioned the empty nest thing. I'm actually having a conversation last night at my daughter's karate place, which she's been going to for years and years. Woman who is there sitting next to me, known her for years and years. Her daughter is going to Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, and she's like, it's so bizarre, like not having her there. Like she's already going to be heading out. So bizarre, she's not there, and she's like, oh my gosh, Jeff, you've got 2 same age. You're going to be an empty nester, just like that. She's like, I'm just easing my way into this here. But she's like, in a few years, it's just going to be like, bam, just like that for you. And I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. Two 14-year-old daughters at this point. God, I mean, I love them to death, but man, sometimes the emotions up and down. Holy freaking crap.
Yeah, and it's always double for you.
Yes. Yes.
I can only imagine like one is in a great place, the other one's in a bad place, and then yours is even compounded by they look the same.
Yes.
So it's like it's kind of identical. Mind. Yeah, mess with your head.
Yes, exactly. My gosh. Well, I'm glad your daughter's having a good time. You're getting ready to ease into the empty nesting type of thing here. So I don't know. You're gonna have to let me know how it is as you're moving through here.
We still have 6 years, and the other one can't even blow his nose properly yet. It's just
yes.
Taking care of himself, please. It's impossible. We're not even approaching that.
I love it. Wait, look, we want to mention something off the bat, and I don't know how necessarily serious this is, but it was something cool that I thought happened this past week. So, I'm just, we're all at home and we get a text from Len and he's like, oh my gosh, our podcast is number 11. We're number 11. We're number 11. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? So apparently there is a podcast database company out there called Million Podcast, and they ranked the 80 top Philly sports podcasts out there. And we were ranked number 11 out of 80 Philly sports podcasts, Eric. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they go through their evaluation. No clue at all. But I thought it was cool, and I wanted to mention it because, I remember our first couple years with the podcast awards, which are now huge and really popular. I know somehow we got nominated a couple years in a row or something. Of course, we didn't win, but I don't know how these things happen. But I just wanted to throw it out there. We're number 11 on this list for whatever reason. Our good friends at the Hittin' Season podcast, they were number 2, and then it was so bizarre. Some other WIP personalities and other credentialed reporters who have podcasts in the Philly sports world were well beneath us. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, how the hell does this happen? So I don't know how they do it, but I'll take it.
Well, it's our wonderful personalities and insight. I did some research on Million podcasts, and apparently the founders are deaf. So, not sure how much credence. No, no.
What? I was like, are you kidding me here? Like, what's happening?
Dude, we beat John Clark from
I
NBC.
know.
He's been there forever. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think we have a good podcast. I think it's different. I do think
Yes.
we try different stuff. I mean, hell, during just look at our COVID cover, like our COVID podcasts. My God, you and I did a 2-hour podcast on the Tiger King. Like,
Yes.
there
We
was nothing to
reviewed
do.
Tiger King. Yes. We had the break from the break in sports. That's what that year was. And
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
actually pretty damn fun to do the podcast during the
it
pandemic.
was, and we brought Mark in from LA, our music buddy. He's done
Yeah.
movies and music podcasts with us. So it's not just sports. Maybe that's what kind of gave us an edge, because I did look at some of the podcasts. They kind of did the same thing.
Yeah.
And no, completely understand why Hitting Season was well above us. That is a legit.
They are so good.
Yeah, I mean, every time we interview them, and they're great follows on Twitter, great people. So I wasn't surprised. Their podcasts are like pristine, clean
Yes.
sounding, like, not always
Yeah.
like this one. My equipment and Len in particular too, but but no, it's I guess it's an honor. I don't know who to thank, but like it's kind of I was kind of taken aback for a second, like that's kind of cool. Like
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Million Podcasts. We appreciate it. And if you are watching us on YouTube, subscribe. And if you hit that like button, we greatly appreciate it. If you are listening on an audio podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, share the podcast with some other folks out there. We'd appreciate it.
And and please on YouTube, push it and watch it, please, because my son's 12 and he lives on YouTube. That's all he watches.
Yes.
He doesn't watch TV. So if I can be like, dude, my podcast got 2,000 views, he'll be impressed. Nothing else I do will impress him. We're beyond that point in life.
Right.
That will impress him. So please, for the relationship with my son's sake, help me out.
Yes, help us all out, folks.
Yeah.
Just let's get those views up for sure. All right. Well, let's get into this week's show. We're going to start off with some Philly sports history. We've been diving into Philly sports history a little bit more here on the show. I got a few that I want to mention here as we are in mid-June. Let's go back to June 14th, 1949. Yes, 1949. Where the Philadelphia Phillies first baseman, Eddie Whitekiss, he was shot in a Chicago hotel by an obsessed fan, and he miraculously recovered and returned to the 1950 season to help the Whiz Kids at that point. So that's 1949, June 14th. And then we're moving along to June 11th, 1976. Philadelphia Flyers famously defeated the Soviet Red Army team by a score of 4-1 at the Spectrum during what was called the Super Series. It was really a defining moment in Flyers hockey lore. Let's move 4 years after that to 1980. 1980 was huge for the Philadelphia 76ers. June 9th that year, Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Philadelphia 76ers, you had Larry Bird going up against Dr. J and facing each other. And Bird, he delivered a breakout performance. If you remember watching that game, I was 3 years old, but I've, of course, seen footage of it. Sixers would advance and face the Los Angeles Lakers in the finals that year. And then we have June 13th, 1997. In baseball's inaugural interleague game, the Philadelphia Phillies faced the Blue Jays. Their relief pitcher, Wayne Gomes, debuted. He earned the win, I know, in a 4-3 game. I know. Going back to Wayne. I actually read when I was going through some Philly sports history here, Eric, and I was like, okay, I'm going to put this one on the agenda here to talk about Wayne Gomes. His career 4.6 ERA. And with the Phillies, man, he was like 4.24, 4.26 during the 98 and 99 season. Not the greatest pitcher in the world, my friend. Not at all.
No, and I was there for a couple of those.
Yeah.
He was the classic. You're sitting in the 700 level. You have the entire section to yourself, like
Yeah.
me, you, and Len, right? Like in section 714 alone at the old vet, and Phillies are down 4-1. It's in the fourth inning, and 9 times out of 10, a player like Wayne Gomes was on the mound, and you're sitting there just watching. You're like, does this team have any hope? Where the
Right.
hell are we going? This guy's on our team. This guy's a third pitcher in our rotation. Like, what are we doing?
Yes, exactly. I was like, why am I here?
Yeah. Thank God I only paid like $8 for the ticket.
Yes.
So that's my Wayne Gomes thought. Going backwards, game 6, Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh,
That was really the game that kicked off like the next 4 or 5 years of the rivalry with Celtics Sixers, and man,
yeah.
violent series.
Yes.
A lot of violent series there. And Andrew Toney became the Boston Strangler. They beat them in 83 and got there, but the Celtics beat them in 80. That was a great couple of years, Celtics Sixers. You don't really see rivalries like that anymore. Going back to 1949, just some thoughts. One thought was that what influenced the beginning of The Natural, where Barbara Hershey shoots Robert Redford?
Oh my gosh, maybe I never thought that.
I've never heard that before, and I'm like, because that part of the movie, that was the part of the movie I'm always like, where is this coming from? Like, I don't understand. I never did enough research to know if like that's like why that happened in that movie, because leading up to that part it made sense, and then that happened. It's like, why did she shoot him? Like,
right?
Is she crazy? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Was that the influence for The Natural? I'll if anyone out there knows, hit us up.
Absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube, leave it in the comments if you can, or shoot us off an email, PHLYSportsTable@gmail.com. I'm going to put it right here on the screen for folks who are watching on YouTube. Again, PHLYSportsTable@gmail.com. Let us know. Dude, I never thought of that. That's incredible.
Well, imagine being a 12-year-old Eric Leonard in 1988, watching that movie on VHS over and over because you love baseball.
Right.
And you love the baseball parts, but then this weird lady shoots the hero in the stomach in the beginning, and you're like, this isn't baseball. What's happening? Like, I don't know this part. Like, and then my favorite, honestly, I'm not the biggest Flyers fan now. It's just hockey in general, but I'm a huge Flyers like historian fan. I've watched the Flyers documentary that HBO put out years ago, like 30 times. It's
great.
The Russian mauling that the Flyers did to them in like 1976 is so much fun to watch. And now you can watch it on YouTube, like the entire game. But back then when the documentary came out, like there was nowhere to go see that. Like I never saw it, just the highlights from the actual documentary. And if you go back, like the way the Russians played, it's almost comical now. They're so slow. They're upright. Like everything they do, you're just like, how does no team just beat the shit out of them and win? And the Flyers figured it out. But they truly beat the living shit out of the team, to the point where they left the ice. And Ed Van Impe, when he comes out of the penalty box and just wham, like one of the worst cheap shots I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes,
but that was the one that made them leave the ice. Yeah, but a great moment in Flyers history, Philadelphia history, U.S. history, quite honestly.
Yes. Well, then it leads to the Olympics, the 1980 Olympics, where the U.S. team ends up like, I'm assuming, and I don't know this, assuming after the Flyers kicked the Russians' ass, it was basically Russia at that time was like, okay, we got to get our stuff together on the international scene in terms of sports and especially hockey. We got to get it together for the Olympics here. So, they were dominant. The Russian team was dominant, and they should have lost. I'm sorry, they should have beat probably the U.S. team. But what an amazing story that was. And again, U.S. dominance, baby. It's U.S. dominance all the way around.
Well, the one area the one arena they did dominate us was their uniforms were amazing. The Russian
they
team.
were good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome with the good. CCP across, or triple CP across the. So cool.
Yes. All right, folks. Doesn't mean we like the Soviet Union. All right. Just keep things calm. Or do you
speak for yourself?
Okay, I'll speak for myself. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our sports history this week. in Philly sports. So let's move on to getting into this Phillies team. Got to tell you, this Phillies team, they seem to have multiple personalities. They are great for moments. Then they go on a losing streak. Then they seem to look unstoppable. Then they lose a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, for God's sake. So we want to give our thoughts on where this team is at right now. And we did get some news today as we're recording this on Wednesday, June 11th. Not good news in terms of Aaron Nola. An MRI revealed that Nola has a stress reaction in his rib cage. He's going to be shut down from throwing for at least another 2 weeks, if not more. He's been on the injured list since May 16th with an ankle sprain. So Aaron Nola's body just not holding up here at all. His 6.16 ERA is the worst of his entire season, of any season that he has played throughout his career. The one thing that has really been constant, though, regardless of his seasons and stats, Eric, is that he's always been durable. Aaron Nola has always been durable. He's never gotten to the point where he's been so injured that he's missed significant periods of time on the mound. And I don't know, maybe Father Time is catching up to him right now, but it's definitely a concern. It really is, I think, as this team is moving forward. And yes, Andrew Painter is waiting in the wings, and this pitching staff is not terrible by any stretch, but it's just kind of unfortunate what's going on with Aaron Nola at this point.
Yeah, but you kind of have to like look back and bank all the seasons that he had where he wasn't injured. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he was that durable guy that was always reliable, your number 2 pitcher and number 1 for a short while before Wheeler came to town. So for him to get injured at age, whatever he is, like 30 something now, his first like real major injury and like kind of loss of time, not bad actually. You know,
yeah.
you just said it. He is very durable. So it's also good that we know there's something wrong with him, because there was a lot of scuttlebutt that Aaron Nola's done. It's over for him. He looked awful this year. At least there's injuries there to explain it, and we don't have to be like, oh crap, do we have to pull up Andrew Painter? Prematurely, all that stuff. So good that you know about the injury. As far as the team goes, you know, the pitching staff is pretty solid, even without that. I would love to see one of the young guys. What's his name?
Mick Abel.
Abel. Maybe Painter comes up. Maybe they make a trade here at some point for an arm. The bullpen's doing a pretty good job, but the type of injury Nola has precipitates some kind of movement either from the minor leagues or from a trade from another team, because that's a nagging injury. Like when you have ribs and you're throwing that hard, that doesn't just go away. You can easily re-aggravate that type of injury. So hoping they do something there. As far as the team goes, you know, so up and down, right? And we kind of knew this was going to be the case. They've been up and down for the past couple of seasons, even the World Series year.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
Yeah, but I told you before the show, the whole league is up and down. You know, at one point the Mets swept the Phillies earlier this year and looked like they're running away with the NL East and the National League for that matter. And then a month later, the Phillies are the best team in Major League Baseball, including the National League. And it's like, okay, here we go. And then they've lost the series. They have 3 series in a row, one to the Pirates of all teams.
I know.
And now they're kind of comfortable where they've been all the past couple of years. They're sitting at the last wild card spot. It's mid-June. This is kind of where they've been the past couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And you don't want to peak too early. So I'm not too worried. Like right now I have up the last 7 days. I'm looking at the splits for the last 7 days for the batters. Brandon Marsh is batting 500. Castellanos 385. Real Muto 333. Baum is 380. Schwarber's batting 115. He's in the toilet.
Yes.
That could flip next week. And that's what this team is. Like as long as they're somewhat healthy, Harper comes back, Nola comes back, or they make some trades, kind of make some complementary moves to the lineup and the rotation. They're going to be fine. And it's one of those. This is one of those baseball fans are finicky. Like like, man, Phillies are the best team, and then things go a little south, like they lose the series of the Pirates, and it's like,
For like a
oh
week.
boy,
For like a
here it
week.
goes.
Exactly.
It's
I
a
mean,
week.
yes.
It's June 11th.
Yes.
June 11th. Relax.
And yes, I know, folks, that they have lost a decent amount of games. And I don't think Eric and I are trying to just like play this off or glaze it over by any stretch. But because, look, there are realities with who this team is supposed to be and where they are in terms of the power, in terms of the home runs. I mean, in all honesty, yes. And our friend of the show, Destiny Legardo from PhilliesNation.com, she shot off a tweet today, which I responded to. It was kind of depressing. I mean, the fact that the home run leaderboard is not that great. Schwarber hit his 21st home run tonight against the Cubs, but then you have Bryce Harper with 9 home runs on the season. Kepler with 7. Turner with 7. Castellanos with 6. Bohm with 5. Real Muto with 5. And Bryson Stott with 4. Like, the home run leaderboard is not all that great, but I don't think it needs to be fantastic for this team to win games. I mean, just look what happened tonight with the Cubs. They handled the Cubs. Jesus Luzardo was fantastic today pitching against the Cubs. Like, they didn't need to absolutely kill certain teams when it comes to home runs. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, that yes, while the leaderboard does look depressing, and it kind of is from a home run standpoint, it doesn't mean that this team doesn't have the talent and that they can't go far once playoff time comes. I mean, it's a streaky team. They've always been streaky. I think, folks, we got to just sit back and say, okay, let's enjoy this baseball team. You know, when of course they're winning, but you know what? They can get back on their feet. You know, we've got our banner here at the bottom saying, can they get back on their feet? Yes, absolutely. The Phillies can get back on their feet. They just won this series against the Cubs. They're already starting to get back on their feet.
Well, just pull back and gain some perspective. They're the 7th best team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
The 3 teams that are better than them in the National League are the Mets, the Cubs, Dodgers, and the Giants. Giants are half a game up on them. Cubs are pretty damn good, and we just took a series from them. Okay, yeah. Those Pittsburghs, the Pirate, the pitching matchups were pretty tough. Like, they faced the Skeens kid, who might be like a generational pitcher. I've never seen. Have you seen a fastball move like that?
I know.
Have you seen off speed? It's insane. But the Mets are stacked, but we're 5 games underneath them, and we were just 2 games over them. It's baseball's so
it's
just
all
nuts.
Fluid. Yeah,
it is.
It's a
like I said,
game.
And we'll play the Dodgers again. The Cubs are the 2nd best team in the National League, and we just took 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that they're going to pick it up again here, and then they're going to shit the bed at the end of June, and then they're going to kill it in the beginning of July, and then the All-Star break will come, and then they'll suck after that. We've already seen this before.
Yeah.
I think because of some of the little nagging injuries, because they are older, that's going to start to pile up possibly. You're going to have to make some, like I said, some supplementary, complementary moves, either from the minors or from like other teams. Because I'm afraid these might start piling up, those little nagging injuries, and all of a sudden, Rojas is leading the order. Like, nobody wants that. So.
No, Jesus. No. All right. Let us know what you're thinking here. Philadelphia Sports Table at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, email is right there for you. If you're listening, again, on whatever podcast platform you are hearing us on, Philadelphia Sports Table at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us off an email. Let us know what you're thinking about in terms of the Philadelphia Phillies. Any of these subject matters we get into in the world of Philly sports. We'd love to read your email here and respond to it on the show. Let's get to our first break here, and we want to put up real quick for the YouTube watchers here our social media sites. Follow Eric and I on Blue Sky. Jeff Warren for me at Brick Pollitt for Eric. We are over on Threads. You can follow Len. I'm looking at Slen and I see Len in there. Oh, gosh, I really need to jump off a bridge here. Just follow us on Threads. Search us out. Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. We're also on Twitter, Instagram as well, and you can like our Facebook page. We are going to take that break now. And when we come back, we're going to get into some Sixers talk. We're going to talk about Jeffrey Lurie making a $50 million donation to something that has really never been done before. And then we've got some Flyers talk coming to you. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. And now let's dive into a story that came through on many of our social media feeds today. And it was the fact that Jeffrey Lurie, and I genuinely think that he could be the most community-minded owner in the NFL, Eric. It was announced that the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania is now opening because of the Lurie family, the Lurie Autism Institute, because of a $50 million gift from Jeffrey Lurie and his family. It's the first of its kind, which aims to be a global hub for autism research and care. It's the single largest donation to a U.S. academic medical center focused on autism research and care. When I read this, dude, like I was like so taken aback. And I think I was taken aback by it because I think this is the first time, and I'm not meaning to be political with folks or anything, but it's the first time that we are seeing since the major cuts from the National Institute of Health that we are seeing such a large donation to scientific research and the medical community, not just with regard to autism, but just in general. It's like one of the largest donations that has been made here in the United States for medical research, medical care. And it's something I think that's going to be needed more in the future because of some of the cuts that have come from the federal government. Unfortunately, one of our guests here, I'm not going to say who it is, one of our guests that have been on the show before, she was a scientist at the NIH, lost her job. She was there for 10 years. She was a scientist working on a lot of good stuff. I'll say that. So that being said, like Jeffrey Lurie doing something like this, he didn't have to do it. You know, we are living in a world where we're following what billionaires are doing all the time, Eric. We're following what millionaires do with their money, their power, their influence. And Jeffrey Lurie decides to do something like this. Yeah, the guy's rich, has a ton of money. He's a billionaire himself. But the fact that he was able to do this and leave his mark and will be leaving his mark in this way, I think is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's fantastic. And I'm hoping other rich folks out there, other billionaires are going to do the same thing. I don't know. What did you think when you first saw this come over your feed?
Don't hold your breath for other billionaires to do this.
I know I shouldn't. I know.
I mean, I could go off on an acid tongue, vitriolic rant right now about everything you just talked about. But I'm going to focus on the good aspect of this story.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, I'm just going to say not to get too political. I'll be political. Like, you know, in light of the current administration, like I think this is the future of clinical research until something changes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that change would be. But this is just a great story. It's super local to the city because it's, you know, part of CHOP, and it really is like a great cause. You know, one of the like autism, like, you know, when we were younger, it existed, but you know, the kids that had it when you were in school, like, yeah, that kid's just weird.
Yeah.
We didn't know we didn't even know what it was. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And even in the 90s, 2000s, it was still kind of like, I think by the 2010s, it was more, okay.
Yes.
We have the stickers, we have the marches, that kind of stuff, you know, to make money for research. But like, it not only is great for CHOP and for the city and for autism, but like also just kind of shining a light on what is still it's becoming more and more abundant. That's for sure.
Yes.
You know, as people start to understand the spectrum and everything. But as far as Jeffrey Lurie goes, he's probably one of the most generous owners in Philly sports history. I think Ed Snyder also is in that same category.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He was really really planted his ground. I mean, he was from Philly, went to Girard College. Like he was born and raised there, and he really planted his flag in Philly and did a lot of good for the city. I can I just say, I was trying to think of other owners that were the opposite of that. And
Ooh,
and
yes.
the first two names that came to Norman Braman, the old Eagles
Oh,
owner, who
yes.
lived in France,
Yeah.
basically didn't even come to Philadelphia.
Oh God,
And then
I think I know who you're gonna.
Harold Katz was the Sixers
Oh,
owner
okay,
in the
okay.
80s, early 90s, and he was just kind of a shitty person from
I thought you were gonna say
every
Leonard Toast.
he sucked too. Yes, yeah. But those were two names I thought of. I'm like, yeah, I don't think they cared about the city at all. So,
No.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but I think Larry and Snyder are the two best. And like again, it's a great story, and in light of like people losing their jobs and research funding being pulled, it's like thank God
Yep.
somebody's stepping up because I don't know who else is going to do it.
Because how many years at this point has cancer research been going on? Right? Decades, and decades that cancer research has been going on. I have a feeling we're going to see the same thing when it comes to autism research as
Mhm.
well. I feel like we're just been learning about it. Like you said, 10 years ago, just started getting more of a feel for it in a way of what it is, how prevalent it is. I have a wife who's an elementary school counselor, and she works with autistic children all the time, and she's still continuing to learn various aspects of what autism is and how kids and families live with it in a way. And it's something I think that's going to be, in terms of the research, in terms of the care, what we've done with cancer research. It's going to take time to understand it more.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't mean to pontificate.
Well, two quick afterthoughts I just had. One, um, just in I've been coaching youth sports for like 11 years now,
Yeah.
and no one ever you spend a lot of time with these kids, and no parent ever comes to you and says, my child might be on the spectrum or is on the spectrum, or gives you any background. You kind of have to learn on your own. And I don't know I know enough to be able to kind of recognize it a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of help that kid along as best I can, be a little more patient,
Yep.
and like get them to talk a little more if they want to. And um like it's still a mystery to that point where like and to the point where like parents aren't going to just bring it up unless there's like a potential issue or something.
Right. Right.
um so I'm out there flying blind coaching youth kids, like just doing like, do I talk to this kid more? Like, even
Yeah.
I don't know. I do my best, but like, and then you talked about cancer. It was a good point you just made. Like, we're still like in the infancy of understanding what it even is. I think cancer research was probably about the same thing years and years ago, where like people were like, I think bacon gives you cancer. Like nobody knew at a certain
Right.
point in history. And I think we're still at the conspiracy theory level, and I don't want to get political again, but like people are like, well, the vaccines cause it.
Right.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do we know that? Like, does something else cause it? Smoking when you're pregnant, does that cause? Like, I don't know. I don't think anybody fucking knows. And
Right.
it like the dumbing down. I'm gonna stop soon, but the dumbing down of society in this country and just throwing crazy conspiracy theories or wacky thoughts and stuff, being like, I don't understand it, so I'm just gonna get. How about we pay the fucking money to understand it and research it so we can maybe
Exactly.
something down the road instead of so
Science, huh? Ah. All right.
we got to stop or I'm going to go off for an hour.
I know.
Yeah.
We will stop. All right. I took the banner off. Okay. I took the banner off.
Okay.
We will stop right now at this point here. Let's move on.
Hot dogs cause cancer. Well, they probably do, actually, if you think about it. Like,
Oh my God, then I'm dying next week.
Eric, sit down. You have glizzy cancer. Shit.
Yes.
Too many hot dogs.
God. Oh, if hot dogs give cancer, then just give it to me now.
Yeah.
Give
By
it
the
to
way,
me now.
so I had Vinny and our buddy Mason. He's on both play basketball.
Yeah.
And I play goofy with. I know some of today's terminology that the kids use, and glazing,
Oh, skibbity. Yeah.
skibbity, Riz. Those I understand, but
Yes.
glazing. They were saying
Yeah.
it tonight at practice, and I kind of know what it is, but I finally in the car. I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, you guys might glaze, but I like glizzing. And they're like, what? I'm like, glizz and hot dogs, glizzies. And they're like, "Oh my god, you're so lame." I'm like, "Yeah, I know.
I
I
I
don't really
get that
care."
from the twin. Michelle and I get that from the twin. I know a lot more of those of
Mhm,
today's terms, more so than my wife Michelle.
mhm.
She works in an elementary school, and I'm on social media throughout the course of the day. I get it a little bit more than she does, but boy, they brutalize her. They're like, seriously, with the Sigma stuff and
Yep,
or even
I
with
know
the
that
Riz,
one. Yeah.
it's like she's like, I don't know. And oh, mom, you're so lame. Oh
Okay,
God.
but here's the thing. But then these kids don't know the words that those words derive from.
There you go. Yes.
So I was explaining Riz to them. They were
Yes.
like, "How'd you figure out what Riz is?" I'm like, "Well, it's short for charisma."
Charisma. Yeah.
And they're like, "What's charisma?" I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yes.
I was like, "Charisma is like if you're a guy, you have game, like you're
Yeah.
charming, you're debit, like that kind of thing." And like, "Oh, Riz, oh yeah, yeah." And then glazing, I'm like, they explain it to me. I'm like, "Oh, you're being sarcastic." They're like,
Yeah.
What's sarcasm?" I'm like, "Oh my
Ah,
god, holy crap, dude, we're doomed." Like,
I have faith in the younger generation.
yeah, I spend too much time with them to know
Yes.
that I don't have.
Well, I don't know if we're going to have faith or not in the Philadelphia 76ers after
Whoa!
this draft. How do you like that segue? Huh? What do you how do you like them apples? How about it?
You're glazing.
Oh, damn, baby. Jesus. What oh, shit. Where do we go from here?
I don't know.
Right. 76ers talk. Yes. Discussion about this upcoming NBA draft. And I mean, there are some guys heading up the board, other guys who are falling. Ace Bailey, at this point, again, as we're recording this on June 11th, apparently he has just fallen down the boards. VJ Edgecombe going up the board here at this point, and also Trey Johnson as well. Eric, you are the basketball guy here on this podcast. We had a great show. If you want to go back, whether you're watching on YouTube or go back into the podcast feed on our Table Talk interview show this week, Harrison Grimm from LibertyBallers.com came on. We got into some of these prospects and what this Sixers offseason has been looking like and what the future may hold for this team. But man, this number 3 pick is going to be really interesting. At this point, my gut is telling me Daryl Morey and company and this front office are going to stay. You may think differently. They're going to stay, and VJ Edgecombe is probably going to be the pick. That's what I'm thinking here at this point. You're not bringing Tyrese Maxey in for the meeting if it's just like a whatever type of meeting. Like I feel like when they eventually meet with Ace Bailey, because they still, as of us recording this, have not set up that meeting. Reporters haven't been told if and when it's going to be set up, but Edgecombe is somebody that I think they're going to want on this team. So is he the guy? Is he going to be the pick for the Sixers? I'm thinking it's a really good possibility here. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking here? You're the basketball guy.
I'll preface with I'm going to go off of what I think the Sixers front office is thinking, and well, there's two sides to it, right?
Okay.
There's two things they're possibly thinking. One, our timeline is based on Joel Embiid and Paul George, and that's the timeline we need to be thinking about in the offseason, in particularly the third pick of the draft, right? So if that's their thinking that that's the pathway they want to go, they have a 2-year window. So we need to either use this third pick for someone that's ready to go now. That excludes Ace Bailey altogether, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't like anything I've heard about this kid coming, and nothing about like behavior. He was listed as 6'10". He's measured now to 6'8". Not special at all. Shooting in particular is not incredible. His defense was not great in college. Not to say that it won't come down the road, but like I said, if in their mind the path, the roadmap for them is like 2-3 year window because your stars,
Yeah.
are a little older, that tells you that kid's out, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of leaves you with. So if they do keep the third pick, I think they go with like a Trey Johnson or Edgecombe. I think for sure, because those are guys that can come in right away, score buckets for you, and kind of like you can kind of plug Edgecombe in next to Maxi because he can play defense, or he can go in for Maxi and be kind of the perimeter shot or playmaker,
Yeah.
or handle the ball and have Jared McCain out there for shooting, and Trey Johnson come in and just score. I like Trey Johnson a lot. If they keep the third pick, I like him. If they take him, I'm okay. If they take Edgecombe, I'm okay too. Edgecombe he's kind of what the NBA is now, big, solid, athletic guards that can score. Like that's, but Johnson's a good shooting guard too. But besides that, but one of my fears is though, if they're along the same line of thinking, if they decide that the window is at 2 to 3 years and we're going to draft or make moves that kind of go along with our superstars only having like 2 to 3 year window, I'm afraid they're going to trade the pick along with a bad contract for a more veteran player, say like Lauri Markkanen for the Jazz, right? Wow. The Jazz missed out on Cooper Flagg. I think they thought they were going to get him. They're going to get the top pick. They landed number 5, which sucks ass for them. That team's going nowhere. Lauri Markkanen doesn't help them. Why wouldn't they offload him for
they
the
want
third
to.
pick?
They would want to.
And
yeah.
For the third pick in one of our bad contracts. Now, if that contract's Paul George, it's interesting. But then the fit between Markkanen and Embiid's weird. But like, I just think I'm fearful that maybe Morey thinks he has a small window of opportunity as well as the GM, and is going to use that third pick as a betting chip to get something else that he wants to fit the timeline of a more veteran team. I hope they just sit there and take Johnson or Edgecombe. I want no part of Ace Bailey. Don't like anything about that.
Okay.
But this team, I have no idea what this team's going to do. But I think if they keep the pick, it's going to be one of those two.
Let's go back to the draft lottery for just a second before we wrap up this segment here. Let's go back to the draft lottery. And it was the body language of Daryl Morey when they got the number 3 overall pick, when that landed to them, and he took his head and put it down on the table. Do you remember that? Like, oh my God, this actually happened for us. Like that body language there, it's not going to tell us, of course, who the pick is going to be, but it leads me to believe that a young talent like Edgecombe, or if it happens to be Trey Johnson as well, that is what was wanted, that opportunity of having somebody young, somebody that could potentially be part of the future after the window of opportunity as well, is something that they would want. That body language from Daryl Morey, I thought, spoke volumes in terms of like what they would want to do with the pick in terms of like staying put. I just don't think they're going to trade it. Based on that body language, may sound hokey, but I just think based on that body language from the draft lottery, they're going to stay right at 3.
But do you think maybe that it was such a long shit season, they had to tank almost like 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
That it was a feeling of relief in the moment because it was number 3 and they didn't lose the pick. Like that was the worst case scenario, right?
Yep.
So they got 3 and it was just like whew, thank God.
Yeah.
But maybe an hour later, was he like, God damn, we didn't get the top pick? Because I think if they get the top pick, that's an easy decision. You just take Cooper Flagg.
Yep.
I think even number 2 is an easy decision where you take the sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, why am I
Parker kid.
Yeah.
Where you take Dylan Harper. I think 3 down is more like, oh man. And now he has time to think about it. And it's like, if I can use the third pick to get rid of this disastrous Paul George contract, I think he might come back and actually be good this year. It's totally possible it's on the table.
Yeah.
He had one down year, maybe. I don't know. But like, if his thinking is that was a mistake, I have a chance here because of the third pick to offload that piece of shit contract, to bring in a kid like Mark. I'm just saying marketing because he's like he's like 27. He scores points. He has a big contract because you have to trade for 2 big contracts, right?
Yeah.
Was that his trade chip? Whereas if he got the number 6 pick, not, I don't think maybe the Jazz want to make a move at that point, but because
Right.
maybe they're desperate now, maybe because even the Hornets might be desperate at 4, like teams that thought they're going to be in the top 3, maybe even the Wizards, right? That maybe that third pick to him was a get out of jail free card in terms of like, oh, I can just pick a good player here, or I can use it to get off of the George contract and maybe expand my window a little bit with Embiid, with
Yeah.
Maxey, with a player that can come in and play right away. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I think if they do keep it, Edgecombe and Johnson are the only 2 options at this point.
Yeah. I think so too. I think so too. It's
Because you
going to
have
be
to pick
real
players that can
interesting.
play right now and
Yes,
score baskets.
absolutely. And they both can. Both
Yeah.
can. Edgecombe and Johnson can absolutely do that for sure. All right, buddy. I'm going to let you head out of here before we go to the break here, and before we get to what we're throwing down on the table with Charlie O'Connor and some Flyers talk. You got anything for us here? Any final thoughts before I let you head out here?
Yeah, here in my draft guide, Trey Johnson has a Sigma.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And then VJ Edgecombe, Riz,
Yo,
full
he
of
got that
Riz.
Riz.
Yep,
Yes.
just
He
full of
does.
Riz. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. All right, folks, going to take a break. And when we come back, lots of Flyers talk and pre-draft talk coming your way. And joining us this week to get into this Flyers offseason and specifically this upcoming NHL draft and what we are expecting from the Philadelphia Flyers front office, Danny Briere and company, with regard to the Flyers draft. We have from PHLY Sports, and they do such a great job. We've got the one and only Charlie O'Connor. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's good to be here.
It's great to see you. Appreciate you taking the time, buddy. And look, as we are gearing up for this draft here, I've really been reflecting, and a lot of us fans, I think, have been reflecting on and assessing what kind of general manager Danny Briere really has been to this Flyers organization and to the team. He's made some very good decisions since his, during this early tenure, and he's made some necessary decisions in terms of the rebuild and the restructure here. Overall, there hasn't been too much negativity surrounding his short tenure. So, Charlie, I'm wondering, to get this conversation started here, what do you think has been the most consequential decision that Danny Briere has made thus far during his tenure as GM of this Flyers franchise that has really helped propel the Flyers perhaps to another level, or that may propel them to another level? What are your thoughts here?
Well, it's an interesting question because there is one answer that is the clear cut answer, but it's tough to say that that should be the answer to that question because it was less a decision for Briere and more a decision for the organization. Like the answer to this question is the drafting of Matvei Mishkov in
Yes.
2023
Right.
at number 7. Like that is the most consequential. That is the one that has the potential to give the Flyers the star level, true top of the lineup guy that they need to have any chance of this rebuild working. And the Flyers took the plunge, made the pick, got him to come over here. Everything so far is going according to plan on that front. So consequential, that is the most consequential because if you don't have Mishkov, nobody is excited about this
Right.
team to the way
Right.
that they clearly are because the Flyers have Matvei Mishkov and it gives the team and more importantly the fans a guy they can dream on as, being, I'm not saying as good, but like, the Nathan McKinnon of the Flyers, the Nikita Kucherov of the Flyers, the guy who is the star, the guy who you could put up against any other star player in the league and be like, yeah, our guy's real good. He's on that level. So
Right.
that's the most consequential, but that was less a decision and more a you better do it
Right.
as long as you have approval from your owner, as long as you have approval from Comcast, which clearly he got. But that's more of a no-brainer than a, wow, what a great move by Danny. If you're talking about consequential moves that were not like, hey, this great player fell into your lap and now you just have to convince the rest of the organization that we should take the plunge on this risk because it's a worthwhile risk. I think the most consequential trade in terms of, or consequential move, it is a trade that he's made as general manager, is the Ivan Provorov trade. Because if you look at what that produced, so
Right.
number one, you get a first round pick back for him. Okay. So you get the 22nd overall pick in 2023. That turns into Oliver Bonk. He's still coming. They like him a lot. You also get Sean Walker in the deal. Sean Walker, you turn into another first round pick. So
Yep.
now you've got 2 first round picks for Ivan Provorov. Helge Grans has played in the NHL. Okay. He might make the team out of camp next year. I don't think he's going to be an impact guy, but he could be a quality NHL right shot defenseman with size who can skate a bit, maybe be a decent enough third pair defenseman. Now you've got 3 potential assets. You've got another second round pick coming in this draft from Columbus that you got in that deal as well. So you're talking about a trade that in theory could bring you back, somewhere between 2 and 4 players that helped you spark the rebuild. Depending on how Bonk plays out, depending upon how the how the pick goes that they got in the Sean Walker deal, how that plays out this year, and then they have the 2 seconds. They have the one that they got, or no, not the 2 seconds, but they have the one they got in Columbus, and then they got Helge Grans. That's 4 possible assets that could be quality assets for this rebuild, and that all came in one trade. So if you're talking about like trade that was difficult to pull off or move that was difficult to pull off that was most consequential, it's the Provorov deal. If you're talking about just most consequential period, it's taking Michkov.
It really is amazing how we haven't necessarily seen as much negativity with Danny Briere and company as we did with Chuck Fletcher. And I guess that's maybe not saying a lot in terms of what the Chuck Fletcher regime was, but I think a lot of us are very I hesitate to use the word happy, but I think maybe pleased as to where things are right now and what things could be with this team and this franchise moving forward. But as we're talking about, we're talking about these consequential decisions by Danny Briere, Charlie, who he takes at number 6 overall in the upcoming NHL draft, or however he decides to move around in the first draft, is going to be consequential to the future of this Flyers team. Last week, we were talking with our friend Madeline Campbell about this. We've had Kelly Hinkle on, your friend as well, to talk about just the consequential aspect of what this draft is right here. You guys and you ladies over at PHLY have been talking about all the various directions that the front office may go with this draft. What is the most logical direction they could go in terms of the long term here from what you have assessed so far, Charlie, and why?
Well, if you're talking about logical direction, I don't necessarily even want to point to specific players because
Okay.
we're all going to have our guy who we want the Flyers to take. And also, a lot of this decision is going to be made for the Flyers, given the way the draft shapes up at the top of the draft, where you have, Matthew Schaefer, Michael Misa probably going 1-2, and then you have a group of 4. You have Anton Frondel, Caleb Desnoyers, James Higgins, and Porter Martone. You have a group of 4 that is generally accepted to be the next group. The Flyers pick at 6. So in theory, it would just be, well, they would just take whoever's left. It's not like they can choose between that group. To me, if we're talking about, what's the most logical direction? The most logical direction for the Flyers with the 6th pick is to take the swing on skill. Don't be sucked in to taking a guy who isn't going to be as good as some of the, or maybe like doesn't have the ceiling as some of the other guys who are available, but man, we just want that physicality, or we need that size. We need to fill a perceived gap in our talent pool. We need a center. Like, yes, they do absolutely need a center, and that's something that Flyers fans, and I'll probably talk about this in a little bit, something they should be hoping for the Flyers to, in a best case scenario, address. But if Porter Martone is the guy there at 6 and he has the highest upside of anybody available, I don't think the Flyers are in position where they can say, nah, we're going to go with the center instead, because the Flyers right now have one guy in Matvei Michkov who is a true top of the lineup superstar, still young. Travis Konechny is there too, but he's in the back half of his 20s. You're hoping he ages well, but you don't know for sure. This may be the last time the Flyers pick this high, because I do think this summer Briere is going to try to make some moves, not try to push this team into the playoff picture necessarily, but he's going to try to make them better. I think he's going to try to address goaltending. And I think Rick Tocchet coming after John Tortorella, I think the Flyers will be better next year. So this very well could be the last time the Flyers pick this high. This means this is the last time maybe that they have the opportunity to get a guy who can be, the Superman to Michkov's Batman, or the Batman to Michkov's Superman, like another guy, the Nicholas Backstrom to his Ovechkin, you're hoping for.
Right.
And you can't get sucked into like, oh man, really want this guy who's probably a second liner because he just
Right.
has so many qualities we like. Like, you gotta go for the skill because they're not in position. They don't have enough high-end talent to justify going for the lower upside guy. You got to take the big swing still, and that's the approach I'd like Briere to take, because I think that they're not in position. They're not in position to go with a luxury pick. They
Right,
have
right.
to go with the guy who is most likely to be a true top of the lineup, point per game or better type of guy who can change your franchise.
It can't be like a Jet Lachenko type of
Yeah.
pick, you know what I mean? It can't be like that. And I think we all know that as fans. Again, folks, we're talking to Charlie O'Connor from PHLY Sports, PHLY Flyers. Buddy, if you don't mind, everybody's on social media, different social sites out there. Let folks know where they can follow you. They probably are if they're listening to us, but want to let you get that out there, buddy.
Yeah. I've been on Twitter for years, obviously. Charlie O_Con on Twitter. I believe my profile is the same. No, it's just Charlie O'Con. No underscores
There you go.
on Blue Sky. We have our YouTube channel as well, PHLY Sports. Our Flyer shows are all on there. And on all the channels, we have our podcast as well. So Spotify, Apple Music, everything you can think of, we're on there. We'd love for you to give us a shot.
There you go, folks. And I will say this, and I swear to God, I didn't tell Charlie I was going to say this, but I ended up leaving The Athletic and went over to PHLY because of Charlie O'Connor, folks. I did.
Yes.
I've actually never said that on the podcast platform, but I actually subscribed to PHLY because I was like, oh my God, no Charlie O'Connor. Where the hell am I going to get my Flyers? Where am I going to read about the Flyers now? So there you go.
There are still a lot of really good people at The Athletic too.
There are.
But
Yes.
I am very, very glad that you are a PHLY diehard. That is
Yes.
much appreciated, Jeff.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's actually get into some of these prospects here that we're going to be looking at in this upcoming draft, Charlie. Who might they take there at 6 if Danny Briere and company decides to stay there? Thoughts on James Haggins? I mean, he's being talked about as one of the best centers possibly in this draft. What are your thoughts on him, and if he would be that complementary piece that we are really looking for on this team in the future?
I really like James Haggins. So I have him ranked 3rd on my draft board.
Okay.
He didn't have as good of a draft season as you were hoping for, because he had an amazing draft minus 1 year with the U.S. National Team Development Program, then killed it at the under-18 Worlds last summer. So like last April, May. So I guess late spring, but it was the offseason functionally. I think everyone was expecting his first year in college, he was going to light it up the way Macklin Celebrini did. And instead, he was merely a point per game guy as a 17, 18-year-old.
Merely.
As a freshman in college. It disappointed a lot of people. They were expecting him to blow the doors off. Instead,
Yes.
he was just very good for
Yes.
his age in college. I love the skill set. I think he has the upside to be as good as anyone in this draft. I love the playmaking, the potential of putting a guy who sees the ice the way he does with a guy like Mishkov who thinks the game as well as he does. That's very exciting to me. The one thing that I wonder if it'll give the Flyers pause is that Haggins is not that big. And I don't know if this is going to be enough to stop the Flyers from taking Haggins if he's there. But I do wonder if they're going to worry a little bit of, well, if our top 2 players are James Haggins, who is, 5'10.5", and then Matvei Mishkov, who's probably something like 5'10.5" as well. If they are your 2 best players, can you succeed in the playoffs if those are your 2 best players, and they then can become the focal point of all the teams that have a defense full of 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" behemoths? In my mind, I take it, because
Okay.
I think that at this point, you can't be choosy. You need talent. And then you can, if Haggins is as good as I hope he can be, and Mishkov continues to develop, then you've got 2 studs, and then you just go real hard on trying to find the big physical, talented winger in trades and free agency, whatever, to complement those guys, and then boom, you're good. I would go with Haggins, but I do wonder if he's there at 6, do the Flyers and Danny Briere get scared away a little bit by the fact that then, in theory, your 2 premier offensive players are smallish forwards?
Right. What about, though? I mean, Brady Martin is also potentially being mocked to the Flyers in various mock drafts as well. We've read how many of them at this point. What are your thoughts on Brady Martin? I think he's only 6 foot himself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's not the biggest, but he plays big.
Yeah.
Like Hagen's, it plays a skill game. He plays a finesse game. He's not that physical. Brady Martin is maybe the most physical player,
Yeah.
physical forward, at least in the draft. He loves throwing the body. He justifiably gets some Sam Bennett comparisons. And obviously, everybody is loving what Sam Bennett is doing in this postseason. He's been amazing for Florida. The one thing I'll push back on a little bit with Brady Martin is, and I'm not the only one who believes this, but I'm certainly not part of a consensus view. I don't see a center in Brady Martin.
Okay.
I see a guy who I think his skill set and his hockey IQ, which I don't rate as highly as some others do, I think he is destined to be kicked out to wing, and I think he's going to be a darn good wing. I like Brady Martin's game at wing. At center, I don't know if I see a guy who's going to be better than a good 3C. At wing, I could see a top 6 wing who brings a really unique element, but I don't know if he thinks the game at a high enough level, at least for my taste, to be an NHL center in the top 6. And if you're drafting at 6th overall, I would rather have a guy who plays the middle, who can have a serious offensive impact. To me, if he's going to have a chance of having the kind of offensive impact that justifies a pick in the top 6, it's going to have to be on the wing. And at that point, it's like, well,
Yeah.
if he's there and Porter Martone's there, I'm taking Porter Martone because I think his offensive upside on the wing is higher than Martin's on the wing anyway. So
Right.
I don't hate Brady Martin, but I have Brady Martin ranked in the teens on my draft board. And a lot of that is because when I watch him, I don't see a center. He didn't play center at the under 18s. He played wing, which was the tournament where the hype train really got started. And I don't think that was a coincidence. In my mind, he was playing the position that he's best suited for. So, of course, he played real well.
Right. Right. I know that you guys today, as we're recording this here on Wednesday, June 11th, you're talking about Jack Nesbitt on PHLY. What are your thoughts in terms of him and what he could potentially bring?
Yeah, well, he's a center, and unlike Brady Martin, I'm very confident that Nesbitt is going to stick down the middle. He's bigger. He's 6'4". He's still growing into his body, so there's a lot more physical development that can come over the next few years. I like Nesbitt. I said on the show, though, I have him more as a early second round guy rather than a guy who I'd be excited to take at 22. The reason why I've mocked him in the past to the Flyers at 22, though, is because obviously the positional need, Flyers need a center. Also, there's a size factor. I do think all things being equal, the Flyers would like to add more size to their center pipeline, really to their forward pipeline overall.
Yeah.
But definitely to their center pipeline. Jeluchenko's 5'11". I just think they ideally would like that. And also the thing with Nesbitt, and this is why I like the fit potentially with the Flyers in terms of them liking him. He, in my mind, has the skills to be a middle 6 center. I think he has the hockey intelligence. I think he has the compete. I think he has the puck handling ability. I like his skills. He's not a good skater. And that's what pushes him down my board. The Flyers, however, historically have not been scared away by that as much.
That's true.
I present you one Tyson Forrester who, like, the consensus view of him in his draft was, yeah, if he could skate, he'd be a top 15, top 10 pick, but he couldn't. And they picked him and they improved his skating to the point where at least it's not awful. And now he's a darn good player. I could see them having the same idea with Nesbitt, thinking, well, if we improve the skating to the point where it's not trash, then maybe he's a middle 6 center. They tend to like to take swings on being able to improve a guy's skating with, more physical development, with some more technique, some better technique. And that's kind of why I look at Nesbitt and I'm like, all right, so his one big weak point is something the Flyers tend to not be scared of. Maybe he could be a fit.
All right, very good. I got a little bit ahead of myself there talking about Nesbitt too, because as we know, as we're talking about, Flyers also have the number 22 and number 32 picks in the first round. Just talking about Jack Nesbitt, but what might the Flyers do with their other picks here? Like, what could they do? Is there specific talent, Charlie, some players here that you think could be valuable to the team down the road? Again, we just talked about Nesbitt. Anybody else in terms of who you have in the queue that you're going to be looking at?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of guys. The thing with this draft is I would say that the way I have it ranked on my board is, you get past the guys who I would consider to be like blue chip potential, like guys who I look at and, like when you do a top 50 NHL prospects, like they're going to be on it regardless. I think that tier ends around 9. And
Okay.
then from like around 10 to 20, you've got the next tier, which are all guys I like and all guys who, if one of those guys slips to 22, run up to the board and take them. All real good players. This is actually where I have Brady Martin. I like guys like, Carter Bear, Cole Reshney, Braden Coots. Cullen Potter's a guy who could be a fit further down the draft because while I have him in that tier, he's small, so he might slip.
Yeah.
But to me, the next tier ends around 20. And then you just have a big old tier. Like I have guys who I obviously like more than others, but 20 through 50, it really is just a grab bag. It's just whoever the scouts like the most. So it's hard to be like, well, the Flyers should take this guy. I have my guys I like.
Yeah.
Like I have guys I mentioned, Cullen Potter. He's smallish, but he's one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy in the draft. I really like his upside. Alexander Zhuravsky is a Russian winger who's intriguing to me. Riker Lee's intriguing to me. Shane Van Sagi's intriguing to me. These are all forwards. I like Sasha Boumediene, a bigger defenseman who plays for Boston University right now. So there are guys I like. Blake Fiddler, Cameron Reed. These are both defensemen as well. Fiddler's bigger. Reed is a little bit more skilled, more on the Cam York type. But there's a lot of guys I like. It's just that every team is going to have guys they like in this range because there's not viewed, at least from a scouting standpoint, viewed as a big gap between 20 and 50. It's just going to be like, hey, some guys have this guy ranked 22nd. Some teams have this guy ranked 52nd. Right. There's going to be a lot of differences in terms of how they're viewed. Now, what it would be awesome for me is to see the Flyers take a guy who I have ranked in that like 10 to 20 range to nab him at 22. And then at 32, take one of the guys I also really like, but in that next tier down.
Well, Charlie, before I let you go, buddy, I have been asking this of our guests that have been coming on as we're talking about this Flyers draft, and I want to get your take on it again before I let you go here. When this Flyers 2025 draft is all said and done, we're reflecting on these draft picks in the days and the weeks after. What should us fans here be hoping that the theme of this draft would have been for this franchise? What do you think the theme should be, and what we hope it will be in the days and weeks after?
Yeah, that's a cool question because I'm going to tell you what fans should be hoping for, but I'm also going to tell you that there are worlds where I could envision myself being okay that the theme of the draft wasn't this. Because to me, if the draft goes in a dream scenario for the Flyers, the takeaway should be you no longer have to worry about the center position long term. Oh. That would be the dream takeaway. Yes. Like if you come away from this draft with a James Higgins, or even like a Caleb Desnoyers or an Anton Frondel, and then maybe with 22, you get a Cole Reshney, or maybe you trade up and you get a Roger McQueen, and then maybe you take another guy in the second round who has, middle 6 to bottom 6 center upside. If that would be the dream. You come away from this draft and you're like, okay, we don't have to worry about the center position anymore. We've got enough guys where like some of these guys are going to hit and we can feel good about where we are at down the middle. That said, in a world where let's say, Frondel goes 3 and then Desnoyers goes 4 and then Higgins goes 5, like I would say take Porter Martone.
Yeah.
And that would obviously not solve the center problem.
Right.
But like, that would, I think, be the right pick because I think he's the best player available. So some of this is out of the Flyers' control. Some of this just comes down to, where will the chips fall? Who's going to get taken where? Will the Flyers get lucky with who's available? And will they be able to fill their biggest need? But I think the dream scenario for this draft is you come away as a Flyers fan feeling like, yeah, no longer have to worry about center. We got 1, maybe even 2 guys who we feel real good about. And then we can worry about other positions moving forward because the center position, given the guys we took in this draft, given the fact that we got Jet Luchenko the last draft, we no longer have to be fretting constantly about where we're going to get our centers for the long term.
I'll tell you, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be exciting for sure. And I believe that you all are going to be getting together for like a party, right? I mean, there's going to be a draft party, and it stinks that I have to miss it. I'm going to be on vacation with my family. Yes, I do want to be on vacation with my family, folks. But yes, why don't you get the party stuff out there so folks can know and understand where they can go if they want to chill out and hang out with y'all?
Yeah, so the PHLY BSH draft party is happening once more. It's happening at the South Philly Chickies and Pete's right off Broad Street, right near the ballparks. And I'm not actually sure what time it begins, but I believe it's going to begin around like 6:30. It is a $5 admission for everyone, but that is entirely because last year we had so many people that this is more of like a crowd control thing, and
Yeah.
all of the proceeds we get for the $5 admission are going to Snyder Hockey. So we're not making a profit on that whatsoever. All going to Snyder Hockey. So you'd have to sign up at allphly.com, which is where you can buy your ticket. And if you want a 3-hour open bar and VIP treatment with food and everything that comes with it, that I believe is $55. That we do maybe make a little bit of money off of.
There you
But
go.
if you're interested in getting the VIP treatment, if you're interested in drinking a little bit on a Friday night, watching the Flyers, hopefully make some good draft picks in the first round, check out our VIP ticket. That's also on allphly.com.
All right, very good. Again, folks, he is Charlie O'Connor from PHLY Sports, PHLY Flyers. It was great to talk to you, buddy. Please come back, join us down the road. I would love to have you back on the show, my friend.
Yeah, would love to come on the show. Obviously, been on a bunch, and it's always a great time.